I'll copy out by Kelly. But I think it's gonna be on the 25th possibly,
Okay.
unless he wants to hold it up a little bit more yet.
As long as you would have a copy, that's what these rules for.
Yep.
Well, yeah, we'll leave it up to one.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Chief. All right, we get a, since this is forward pretty quick, we're going 1 minute.
Guys, I got the folder of stuff that you'll have to touch. That's great. I'll get that incorporated.
Do me a favor, Tony, please feel free to include me on the emails and stuff, because we work together as a team.
Okay.
And that's so, if you can include me, because if there's times he can't get stuff or whatever else, I can help supplement that in that respect.
Sure.
So, I mean,
I think for the comprehensive plan, that this will suffice. We can always adjust there.
We're gonna start.
Do you guys have this electronically?
Yes.
You'll be able to email to me?
yeah, I have it electronic.
Okay. That way if it's PDF or
Don't,
Word doc or something,
sorry, we got a camera rolling.
Not,
whatever it is.
yeah,
Call this joint public hearing to order. If the planning commissioners could enter, please. This is a joint public hearing of the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Big Bend and the Village of Big Bend Planning Commission, February 4th, 2021. We're here first to receive public comments pertaining to the proposed update to Chapter 16 of the Village of Big Bend Municipal Code, for example, Chapter 16 zoning. Do I have any public comments? Do I have any public? Yeah, planning commissioners each have a packet at the end of the table there. In that packet, you have a red line version, draft version of Chapter 16, and a copy of Chapter 13 that's all, I believe, completed.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Celebrate it today, so. Everybody hosted.
Steve, we're in a meeting. We're in a public hearing anyway. If you have public comments about Chapter 16, I'd entertain to hear them.
No, the whole chapter 16.
Or village zoning code.
Chapter 8 or 15.
Second call, any public comments on Chapter 16?
at some point, I would like Mary to kind of run this down for us a little bit or somebody. I don't know if you want to do that at the board meeting or if,
Is this included?
Yeah,
This is important. This is
where's
pretty
that?
helpful.
that is in the back of your big packet.
It is right before the blue type chapter, I believe. Third and final call for public comments on Chapter 16.
Thank you.
Do you feel like you'd like me to use this time during the public hearing to do that kind of a rundown? Do you think everybody from the board that's going to be here tonight is here?
The only one missing would be Mike, and I don't know if he's coming or not.
I mean, we have the
I
time.
would say to do the rundown now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the public hearings.
I guess I won't attempt to do a full-blown rundown because it took the planning commission, you know, the course of so many meetings to discuss each one of the various.
Give us some basic, you know.
Yes, so the gist of it is, in the biggest picture, I'll tell you that the sign code got taken out and rewritten in its entirety. That happened because some new legislature was passed that told all local governments, you may not regulate signs based on their content, okay? So you can't say things like, we're gonna allow, you know, construction signs, and they have to refer to contractors active on the site or something like that. You really have to limit your sign regulations to the zoning district they're in, the quantity, the height, the distance from the lot lines, whether it's illuminated or not, if it is illuminated, how it's going to be illuminated. But outside of that, sign regulation is really going to be on a per zoning district basis, and uniform within all of those districts, okay? So that section is at the back end of this graph that you have. And you have a full copy of what the sign code was and a full copy of what the sign code is proposed to become. The other section that was overhauled substantially was with respect to adult entertainment or retail type stores. That section was also pulled in its entirety and replaced with an up-to-date version of that language based on the most recent legislative regulations. Conditional use grants was modified substantially. In the existing code, we have an entire section that described all of the various conditional use grants that were listed in the districts of the code. And then each one of those conditional use grants was micro-described in how it could be allowed. Act 67 changed everything about conditional use grants, in as much as it basically says these are permitted uses with an asterisk behind that, meaning you can attach conditions to those conditional uses, but you must have substantial, reliable evidence to back up the reasons for your denial. Okay? Now, it started out as a very, very onerous situation, but it's evolving. There's some case law now that's developing that's allowing for some denials to occur in conditional use grants, where there are things like inconsistent with the rural character of the surrounding area. So the use of the words rural character is being accepted as a clearly defined objective standard. So what we did differently now in this code is simply list the conditional uses that we're going to allow, and that list was shaved down substantially to take all of the real outliers, the real, what the planning commission decided were considered to be fairly intensive type uses that we might want to just steer clear of. Shave down the list of potential conditional uses, put them in each of the districts, and then really expanded on our conditional use grant language, which basically says that when you submit for a CU, you have to have all the information that we might possibly need to properly review this. Meaning, at the outset, since we can't ask it in stride during the review, at the outset we're going to say, this looks like a use that might require a traffic impact analysis. Provide it at the outset, okay? Provide it with your application. This looks like a use that might require, etc. And so now that's handled through specific conditional use language, not in the individual districts themselves. Okay? The other changes that are meaningful, I think the most pertinent are within the other global change is with respect to stormwater management and erosion control standards. That entire section has now been lopped out of the zoning code, where it has been for a long time. And it is now part of Chapter 13, which is a chapter unto itself that addresses everything related to stormwater management, site disturbances, erosion control, MS4 requirements of the village. All of those things are now contained in one place, including the Form A standards are all contained in Chapter 13, okay? The entire floodplain ordinance was rewritten under the oversight of Will Hine a couple of years ago. That entire ordinance, it was parked somewhere else in the village's code, some period of time after it was adopted. It's now being incorporated into the zoning code properly. That's where it belongs. The other changes really are on kind of a per district basis. What are we doing differently with respect to zoning districts? Beginning with residential, we're kind of getting away from that two-tiered rural residential setting and settling on R1 being the rural residential, and that's where the minimum lot size requirement remains at 2 acres, like the current code. Rural residential is a 2-acre lot size, 1 unit per 2 acres. We incorporated uniformly through all the districts, through all the residential districts, the revision that was made last year, reducing the setbacks to 35 feet in residential districts and the offsets, the side and rear, 20 feet in all the districts, all the residential districts. So that's a uniform change. And what's the other thing we did to all the residential districts? We said 18 feet is going to be your maximum accessory structure height. That is different than the 15 feet average building height maximum that we had in the code. We're going with an absolute overall building height now instead of an average. And so 18 feet interprets approximately the same as 15 feet average building height. So those changes are uniform. R1 district is our rural residential. R2 district drops down to 1 acre per dwelling unit, maximum 1 dwelling unit per acre. All the same offsets and setbacks and so on that I discussed. R3 becomes our medium density residential. Minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet. 1 single family dwelling unit per 20,000 square feet. R4 was created a couple of years ago already, kind of contemplating the future arrival of sanitary sewer and allowing for a substantially smaller lot size, 15,000 square feet, provided you are on sewer. Okay, so that's a district we haven't mapped anywhere, but the tool's in the box now to put it somewhere when a new sewer becomes available. As far as Plex residential goes, we did some modifications there. We did reduce the required minimum lot size. Instead of having at least an acre, we now say that you have to have at least 15,000 square feet per dwelling unit. So in Plex residential, that makes the minimum required lot size a little bit flexible. So if you're only thinking about putting up a duplex, you need 30,000 square feet. If you're thinking about putting up a threeplex, you need maybe 5,000 square feet and so on, okay?
Doesn't it say the minimum lot size is up to 1 acre?
That's what it used to be. You looking at multi?
Now, she's looking at the flex, what it does as of 10/22, it was revised since then. What we have is a
the
draft
matrix isn't
copy.
updated on
Mine was
that one.
different.
Okay,
I printed the other one.
okay. That's an oversight on. I'm going to point out too that the matrix is considered an addendum, and I think it says so on it. And it refers back to the zoning code language on a per district basis as the final authority on what's accurate, okay? But still, every effort will be made to keep that in lockstep with code standard, with the individual district standards. And changes, by the way, to the matrix will be done administratively. So if we find other disparities, we will simply adjust the matrix. If we're changing the code in any way, that comes back to the commission and the board. Residential multifamily, what was settled on there was a minimum required lot size of 1 acre. A little higher density is permitted there, but consistent with the existing code language. dropping down into the B districts, the business district. B1, let's see what we did there. We did not modify that lot size. It's 20,000 square feet. We did, carve back some of the conditional uses that would have been allowed. You can see what was taken out and what was left in, and some were added. B2 district, same thing. You can see what was taken out in the way of conditional uses, what was kept, and what was added. The required lot size in the B2 district was dropped from 40,000 square feet to 25,000 square feet. An open space ratio was developed for the business districts. In the B2, it's 5%. And in the B1, it is 5%. B3 district. Again, some changes to the list of conditional uses. Minimum lot size of 1 acre stays in, minimum lot size of 2 acres stays in place per the current code. But we also added a 1 acre minimum if the lots are on sanitary sewer. Open space ratio was set at 20%, where there was no open space ratio required previously. B4 district is substantially changed. B3 to B4 were so similar previously in terms of what they permitted that the decision was made to use B3 to capture most of what was in both of those districts, and to create a new B4 district that is called the Highway Business Industrial Flex District. And that would, it translates by adding certain types of light industrial uses to a commercial district, so that there can be these office, light industrial mix type buildings. And we would see that as something particularly useful on the north end of 164, out near the interchange and north from there, potentially in the new business park area as well. In a future business park area as well. Minimum lot size there, 2 acres, 1 acre if it's on sanitary sewer. Open space ratio of 20%. Dropping down into the light industrial.
What are the
district.
setbacks on that? Because it says 35 feet question mark, 20 feet question mark.
Yeah, 35 is the setback in the B4.
35 and then 20.
20 side and rear. Is that not in the matrix?
It's
It's in there, question mark.
The matrix is very different from what you're reading to us. There have changes to it
Okay.
based on what you're telling us. With the open
We have,
It's like 3 months difference.
yeah, I know.
Where's it?
Pardon?
I didn't get the updated one.
No.
It was in the email you sent out, it just isn't in the packet. It's different than the one in the packet. The one that you sent out in email attachments
Is
is
it correct one?
January.
Okay.
What is the maximum accessory building height? Is that another question mark too?
No, it's not a question mark. The maximum accessory building height is 18 feet. Oh, no, the accessory building height, not to exceed the height of the principal building. Because now we're in the B business / light industrial, where
It says
It says 15 feet question mark, but it should be a not to exceed.
Not to exceed what?
Not to exceed the height of the
Building height
principal
primary.
building.
I think the key is to put the new one out too.
Does it say that in the new one?
No, that's what.
Okay. Okay, so that one, no.
Okay, I guess I can either ask this now or when we get into the board, whichever you prefer. But I don't quite understand the small lot size, even though it says, with sewer. And I can wait till we get to this, to the board area too, but maybe something to think about, or maybe the planning commission has something they'd like to say about that. We're a rural community. People come out here to have a little space. Why would they want to have a West Allis lot?
You talking for residential or business?
Residential. That's basically a quarter acre, 15,000,
What a third.
third acre. It's pretty small.
Yeah, what are we dealing with, some of the ones right around 164, and
Right,
probably about a third.
probably about a third, but we want to develop new areas like that.
I think that the R2 is going to be your, I'm gonna just scroll back to my residential section.
I think it's R4.
We
Yeah,
can,
R4,
I think we can hammer this out during the meeting too, because this is actually a public hearing.
Yeah, so we have,
I have to move along to chapter 13 at some point before.
okay,
oh,
yeah, let's,
yeah, okay.
yeah, we'll do that at the board level, okay?
Did you have anything else quickly that you needed to point out?
I don't think so. The
Okay.
I districts changes are pretty self-explanatory.
I think you need to call for it one more time.
I did 3 calls on chapter 16 already, but I'll do one more just. Any
No,
pub,
she's not there.
any final call, any public comments on chapter 16? If there are no public comments on chapter 16, we'll move along to item 2. We're here to receive public comments pertaining to the proposed update to chapter 13 of the Village of Big Bend Municipal Code. For example, chapter 13, construction site erosion and sediment control and post-construction stormwater management. Do I have any public comments on chapter 13? In your packets, you all have chapter 13. This is pretty much taken word for word right from the DNR. It has been approved by the DNR already, as is, and the planning commission gave it, it's not up to the board last week. Major changes where we put the chapter 13, 16 in here from the zoning code. Oh,
From the zoning code,
yeah, which one did we bring in?
yeah, the
It was a,
stormwater management and erosion control. It was, I think it was all of 1608 was
What it used to be.
what it used to be in the zoning code.
any public comments on chapter 13? It's all stormwater. I don't know, it was in a red line version, I got the other one.
Oh,
It's fine. final call for public comments on chapter 13. If there are no public comments on chapter 16 or 13, I will entertain a motion from the planning commission to close this public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Planning commission, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll ask the same of the village board.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing from the village board. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This public hearing is now closed. I'm just gonna let that go, because it's gonna go for another 2 or 3 minutes, and then switch right over to the village board at 7. I'm gonna go in here and shut it off, it's gonna take longer to start off.
Were you asking what was taken from 16 and put into 13?
Yeah,
Was it the enforceability?
I don't recall. It was in the red line version, and it was a whole 6-7 pages. Planning commissioners, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out on this longer one.
Thanks for your work.
Yeah, goodbye.
Hey, welcome to the fun.
Somebody tried to shoot him, but protected that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do it after you sat down.
Mine, I had that for like 24 hours.
Well, Larry, how you doing? Good to see you, well, good. Not that I would have for your COVID.
Yeah,
How about you guys, healthy?
yeah. Always,
Is there just one sign in for?
Just hanging in there.
Good.
For all the kids, yeah.
Same with us. Our, Terry's daughter was living with us, came down, we thought it was COVID, but it was a sinus infection. We brought her and tested her and all that stuff. Yeah, she's good.
Terry's,
Yeah, Terry's still, Travis, all that time. Typical woman. So, and I've been so busy refereeing basketball.
Oh, really?
I was supposed to work Monday, Tuesday, tonight, so that's Wednesday, tonight, tomorrow I work on Fridays. But every, from November on, it's been a minimum of 3 days a week.
I used to referee soccer, and that was a workout.
Oh, so they're begging for soccer officials now because come spring, they want to cut the basketball season short.